So we're looking at today making connections and reading people across the book and using more precise vocabulary and academic language, which can be kind of tricky. So that's our goal. We're going to read in a minute more specifically, but I want you to think about the connections we've made between Rob and Sistine over time and some of the ways we've practiced reading people, as well as the ways Rob and Sistine are reading each other in the story as the book goes on, right? So we have these things where Rob has to kind of read Sistine in the way she's acting, and Sistine has to read Rob's actions. And then we take all of their actions and how they read each other, and we use that for ourselves to read them as characters. And what I mean by reading people is that we can look at someone and look at their actions and things they're doing and saying, and we can understand more about that character. Well, today we're going to look at using precise language and vocabulary to describe some of those connections we make. So can I have a volunteer who's willing to read our goal for today? Clay.
To learn, our goal, to learn that when readers want to grow, not just in the idea about their character, but insightful ideas. Yes. They try to reach for exact,
Precise,
true words to convey with their thoughts about the character.
So as readers, we have to dig deep and find precise words, better words, more academic words to describe our character and how they're acting as a character, as a person. And so we're going to look at how can we take some simple words that we may be saying like happy or nice and use those and use what we know to make a more precise description of the character and the way we're reading a character. All right. So first I want to talk about the difference between character feelings and character traits. Alex J, can you read this part right here that I'm circling under where it says character feelings?
Feelings are a character's emotional response to the actions around them.
Yep, so thank you. That's how a character's feeling at the time. They're responding to the things around them. So like if we think about Rob, in the last chapter we read yesterday, he had a feeling of happiness, right? Running with Sistine. That doesn't mean he's happy all the time. He also had a feeling of sadness at the end. That doesn't mean he's sad all the time, right? Feelings are a response to what's happening around them. So feelings change. Feelings are not something the way a character is for most of the time. They kind of change throughout the story based on what's going on around them. Denise, can you read the part under character traits right here that I'm circling where it says traits tell us?
Traits tell us who his character is. Traits are usual seen through action.
Yep, so traits are something that we usually see through the character's actions. So we might say a character is a caring character because they do nice things or kind things to help people a lot throughout the story. So a trait is something that we're basing off what we're seeing the character do a lot over and over. That's how that character normally acts. An emotion or a feeling is something they're feeling right now based on the things going on around them. And it's important to understand the difference between the two, because today we're going to focus on character traits, the way a character acts, the way a character is as a person based on their actions and the things they say. So we're going to practice with Sistine first, all right? And I'm going to read this section from the text and kind of talk about some of the stuff I have over there on the side, right? So this is from chapter 14 on page 51. You guys can follow along on here. You also should have gotten in your books a copy of The Tiger Rising. So if you ever want to follow along and read with us in your own books, you can. So this is on page 51. It says, "What's he doing way out here?" Sistine demanded. Sorry. Rob shrugged. "I don't know," he said. "He's Beauchamp's, I guess." "Beauchamp's what?" said Sistine. "His pet?" "I don't know," said Rob. "I just like looking at him. Maybe Beauchamp does too. Maybe he likes to come out and look at him." "That's selfish," said Sistine. Rob shrugged. "This isn't right for this tiger to be in a cage. It's not right. We can't do nothing about it." Rob said. We could let him go, said Sistine. We could set him free. She put her hands on her hips, and it was a gesture that Rob had already come to recognize and be very wary of. We can't, he said. There's all them locks. We can saw through them. Nah, said Rob. The mere thought of letting the tiger go made his legs itch like crazy. We have to set him free, Sistine said. Her voice was loud and certain. Nuh-uh, said Rob. It ain't our tiger to let go. It's our tiger to save, Sistine said fiercely. Right, so kind of like looking at Sistine's actions and decisions and the words that she says to Rob, I kind of came up with bossy, right? So my evidence of that, or what I think shows that she's bossy, is that she orders Rob around a lot, right? She's like, the tiger's not hers, but she talks like the tiger and the decision belonged to her. She kind of tells Rob, like, this is what we need to do. This is what we're going to do. But our goal this lesson, right, is to use those precise words to talk and think about the characters more in detail. And I bet that bossy isn't the most precise word that we could choose, right? She's a lot more complicated than saying that Sistine is just a bossy character. So I'm going to try to reach and find some other words for Sistine. So let's look back. I'm going to read that one more time, and we're going to try to come up with some other words that we could use to describe Sistine. All right, so I'm going to read that section one more time. What's he doing way out here? She demanded. Rob shrugged. I don't know, he said. He's Beauchamp's, I guess. Beauchamp's what? Said Sistine. His pet? I don't know, said Rob. I just like looking at him. Maybe Beauchamp does too. Maybe he just likes to come in here and look at him. That's selfish, said Sistine. Rob shrugged. This isn't right for this tiger to be in a cage. It's just not right. We can't do nothing about it, Rob said. We could let him go, said Sistine. We could set him free. She put her hands on her hips, and it was a gesture that Rob had already come to recognize and be wary of. We can't, he said. There's all them locks. We can saw through them. Nah, said Rob. The mere thought of letting the tiger go made his legs itch like crazy. We have to set him free, Sistine said. Her voice was loud and certain. Nuh-uh, said Rob. It ain't our tiger to let go. But it's our tiger to save, Sistine said fiercely. So just thinking about it, what are some words we might use to describe Sistine as a person besides bossy, based on what she said? And I'm going to need some risk takers here to share some of their thoughts, because I know this is kind of hard, but what are some words that we could use to describe Sistine other than bossy? Asil.
I guess she knows. I guess she's caring because she said to let the tiger free, and I guess that's the right thing to do because it's a wild animal.
Okay. Thank you. We're going to go Clay, then CJ, then Corbin, because I saw everybody's hands kind of go up at once. Clay, what do you think?
That she is pretty demanding.
Demanding. That's a good scene. That's a very precise word. What do you mean by demanding? Can you kind of explain that to people?
Demanding by... It's just... I'm trying not to use the word bossy because that's almost the only word that I can pronounce that means this. But probably very upset and very demanding. I do not know how to explain it.
So demanding means that she's like saying exactly what she wants, right? And she's telling Rob exactly what she wants him to do. So that's a good one. Let's see. CJ, go ahead.
She's determined.
Determined? Why do you say determined? It's a good one too.
She really wants to let the tiger out of its cage. She's determined to do that.
Okay, good. That's another more precise word than just bossy. All right, Corbin, go ahead.
Controlling.
Controlling. That's a good one. Why do you say controlling?
Because she's always like quitting, and the time when she walked away, Rob went to her, and then they walked back to the tiger, and then she said, we have to get the tiger out of this cage.
Yeah, so she's kind of like controlling what she wants Rob to do. She's kind of leading the way and telling him exactly how she wants things. Very good. I think those are all really good words that are more precise than the word bossy that we could use for Sistine. So I'm going to go a little forward here and show you. So I put that she seems to be bossy, but so I came up with a few too. I said aggressive, controlling. So that's good that you said that. And then I said feisty. Feisty is somebody who's kind of like, they get very like energetic about a topic and they kind of come across as like intense and trying to get what they want. And then I said, she's all those things, but she's more than just that. I said she's passionate, right? And so passionate felt like what I thought was the most accurate way to describe her. She speaks up for something that she believes in. And I put like, she says, this isn't right for the tiger to be in the cage. It's just not right. So even though Rob tells her that they can't do anything, she presses on and because she really cares about it and she's very passionate about it. So she's not willing to let anything get in the way of saving the tiger, right? She's got this cause. She's very passionate about it. And she seems like a very passionate person. So I think all of those are really good words. I use the word passionate because I think you could kind of combine like controlling, because she's controlling for a reason, with the fact that she's caring about the tiger, like Asil said, and that she's kind of telling Rob what they need to do. So you can kind of combine all those things together to come up with that. She's very demanding, right? Like Clay said, for a reason, she wants that done, and because she's very passionate about it. So I think those are all good words that you guys came up with. So we're going to do Rob. We're going to try to describe Rob with some precise words. So I have mine hidden. I want to see what you guys come up with, okay? So I'm going to read another section of The Tiger Rising. This time I want you to listen carefully and try to think of something we could use to describe Rob, okay? So something equally precise, like we came up with passionate and some of those other words we came up with for Sistine. And I'm going to look for some people besides the ones I just heard from to come up with some ideas. It says, the tiger stopped pacing. He pricked his ears back and forth, looking somewhere past Sistine and Rob. Shh, said Rob. The tiger cocked his head. All three of them listened. It's a car, said Rob. A car's coming. It's Beauchamp. We got to go. Come on. Rob grabbed her hand and pulled her into the woods. She ran with him. She let him hold on to her hand, and it was an impossibly small and bony hand, as delicate as the skeleton of a baby bird. They ran together, and Rob felt his heart move inside him, not from fear or exertion, but from something else. It was as if his soul had grown and was pushing up higher in his body. It was an oddly familiar feeling, but he couldn't remember what it was called. Is he behind us? Sistine asked breathlessly. Rob shrugged. It was hard to move his shoulders up and down and keep hold of Sistine's hand at the same time. Sistine said, stop shrugging your shoulders at me. I hate it. I hate the way you shrug all the time. And that made Rob remember Willie Mae saying that when he shrugged, he looked like a skinny bird trying to fly. It struck him as funny now. He laughed out loud and thought of it. And without asking him and what he was laughing about, without dropping his hand, without stopping, Sistine laughed too. Then Rob remembered the name of the feeling that was pushing up inside him, filling him full and overflowing. It was happiness. That is what it was called. So what are some ways we could describe Rob in this scene? You could say what things he's acting like. You could say something that's his personality, whatever comes to mind. But what are some ways we could describe him? Ania, thanks for raising your hand.
That Rob, when Rob grabbed onto Sistine's hand, he thought that she would just like, she would just not want to hold his hand. But when he held her hand, she didn't do anything. So that made him like, he had a feeling. He didn't know what was named, but then he named it, and it was named happiness. And he was thinking about like how he just wanted to laugh. That way he wanted to see if Sistine would laugh with him, and see, like, he really wanted Sistine to be his friend.
Okay.
Because he really doesn't really have other friends.
I think that's good. Anybody else want to kind of describe what they feel about Rob as a character, what we could say about Rob as a character that now that we're this far into the book? Anybody going once? Going twice. So I said that he was gloomy earlier, if you guys remember in some of my work. So my thoughts on this one. I said Rob is kind of like a turtle. So feel me out here. Hang on. I said he's like a turtle because he's kind of like got this hard shell on the outside because he doesn't want people to know and hear certain things about him, and he's kind of scared. And he doesn't come out of that shell. But in this scene, like it's like he's popping his head out just a little bit like a turtle, and he's trying to come out of his shell a little bit. He smiles for the first time and laughs a lot for the first time. We haven't seen that from him very much yet in the story. And now all of a sudden we're starting to see that from Rob, right? For the first time, we're seeing him kind of come out of his shell around Sistine. So your job today, when you're reading your own book, right, is to grow ideas about your own character. So if you could get your notebook out, we have a anchor chart in there where we've written ways we grow ideas about a character already. It should be in the whole group section. And I'm going to give you 1 minute, 2 minutes till 9:06 right now to write down, add this to your anchor chart. Reach for the precisely right words, image, or comparison. So I want you to take 2 minutes right now, and you're going to add this to the anchor chart. You should already have one up that says grow ideas about a character in your notebook. So you're going to add this. Everybody, once you have it, hold your notebook up and show me that you've got that section in your notebook before you start writing. I want you to actually hold your notebook up and show it to me. I can see that CJ's grabbing his notebook. Thank you, and getting it open. Clay, were you able to stop by the school yesterday and get the pencils and pens and stuff?
No.
Okay, they're in the front lobby if you get a chance to go today, but I see you got one, so that's good. Thank you, Corbin. I can see his. Thank you. Go ahead and add to that chart. 2 minutes. At 9:07, we're going to move on. You got 2 minutes to add that to your chart. Ania's got her notebook out. Thank you, Ania. I can see that Dunya went and got hers. CJ, you should be writing that down in there now that you got your notebook out. I can see Alex writing, and I can tell Guadalupe and Denise are writing. Cynthia's writing. Ivory's writing. Thank you, Ivory. Got 1 more minute.
Which chart are you talking about? Are you talking about the wants chart that has the wants motivations on it?
Nope, we should have a chart that we made it says growing ideas about a character at the top, and we listed 3 ways to grow ideas about a character. Should be in your whole group section.
I don't have that chart.
Okay, we'll write one now that says grow ideas and just add this one thing we have there today for now. It's okay if you can't find it with the old one. Thirty more seconds, so we're gonna move on.
Are we supposed to write what's on the paper?
What's on the screen where it says reach for the precisely right words, image, and comparison. That's it. You don't need to write the little post-it notes. But you'll notice down here it says, like, I think that woman is weird. Weird is not a precise word, right? The precise words it has below are strange, suspicious, noticeable, and inauspicious. And it says Gilly is only to herself. And then it says self-centered, arrogant, and selfish. Thelonious is smart. Instead, it has intelligent, thoughtful, and brilliant, right? So we're looking for those better words to describe characters today. Clay, go ahead.
Is Bully Buster a word to describe her character?
Bully Buster?
Yes.
I've never heard that term, but sure.
Okay.
All right, we're going to move on. This is on your assignment tab. So if you need to go back and look at it later, you can. But I want to let you know your job today. So if you're meeting with myself or Miss Weibel first, we're going to read a little bit further into the book, and we're going to work to find a precise word about our character in our book, okay? And we're going to kind of come up with some evidence for that. If we're meeting second, I want you to try to find a precise word based on what we read yesterday, which would be chapter 1 of Frindle, or chapter 1 of, I believe, The Bicycle Spy. Yep. So if you're in, so that's your job before you meet with us today, if you're in our second group, all right? But you're going to compare your character to other characters and objects and explain your thinking. So here's the example, right? It says, I think maybe one way that you can describe Hildy is that she is positive, just like Dog from the story, Fox. One way I think Hildy can be positive is when Bonnie Sue said to her, Al, you're just like your father, Hildy Biddle. And she said in a nasty voice, but instead of fighting with Bonnie, Sue, that no, she is not like her father. She is bright and cheerfully. And she said, thanks, which will show that she's a positive character, right? So that's a student example, but you're actually saying, okay, this is a word about my character, and this is why I think that about the character. So if you're reading Frindle or Bicycle Spy, when you meet with your group, you should already say, this is a word I think about the character, and this is why. At least try to come up with one. My other groups, our other groups, we're going to continue reading, and we're going to try to come up with a word today in small group that you can use to submit your assignment, okay? Just a reminder, my first group should be Corbin, Alejandro, Clay, Sue, and Derek. So if you're on, I'm just going to have you stay on today, and we're just going to meet from right here. And Miss Weibel's first group should be Christian, Guadalupe, Henry, Mary Lay, and Denise. All right? Our second groups, we'll see you at 9:40. Right? Your job is on your reading tab under assignments. I had a few people not do their reading yesterday, and make sure we're trying to get every single person to do it today. All right? Any questions before you head out to work? Going once. Going twice. All right, you can go ahead and sign off.